Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Email me directly for pricing, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing a model launched in 2008 and discontinued last year, 2020. This is the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Submariner Date 116, and it is the 619 in white gold. This is the Smurf. The model that launched in 2008 is the first modern-era ceramic bezel supercase sub. This really was the genesis of the watch we call the sub today. A timepiece that changed the look of the watch, the feel of the watch, the function of the clasp, the quality of the bezel, and the color and composition of the dial. This watch was full of famous firsts. The first supercase sub, the first ceramic bezel insert sub, the first series production white gold Submariner, the first glide lock Submariner. All of these things in a case that looked bigger but was still nominally 40 millimeters in diameter. It measures, surprisingly, only 12.4 millimeters thick from lug to lug, 47.8 millimeters, and from end link to end link, the total distance across the wrist is 50.9 millimeters. It has a spacing of 20 millimeters between the lugs. We'll throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, and you can see it wears well and comfortably. It's broad, it's flat, it's handsome, and it easily fits underneath a dress sleeve. You can see just how easy that is as I bring it into contact with the shirt I'm wearing. This is a watch you could absolutely wear as a dress piece. It's not as ostentatious as the colored gold Submariners, but it has an incredible heft to it. You can really feel the mass. Solid case back, massive case, solid end links, solid center links, thick gauge clasp. It feels like a platinum watch from any other brand. And I can recommend it for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters in circumference, and it really does look the business on any wrist. A timepiece that represents my personal all-time favorite Submariner, and one that I would love to own someday. Now, taking a quick look at the case, the bracelet, and the clasp, Rolex makes its own cases, clasps, dials, movements, and bracelets. Significantly, they also have their own foundry, and they smelt their own gold. This is 18-karat white gold, but it's gray gold, not conventional white gold. It has a homogeneous composition, so it never needs to be rhodium plated. If it's scratched, it's the same color all the way through, which minimizes any interventions that may be necessary on the case. Gray gold is white gold to its core. Now, taking a look at the bracelet, you can see it's the Oyster design. It has an integrated end link where it joins the case. It tapers a little bit, polished centers, satin shoulders, polished outer faces, removable links on both sides, fixed by screws. We have an Oyster clasp with a double locking mechanism. So you have the beak and the hook internally, that spring-loaded lift latch, that locks the first time, and then the clamshell, that locks the second time. There's a little curve so you can dig your nail in, open up the clamshell, pull the trigger, release the lift lock. It's polished internally and nicely finished. Now, this glide lock system I mentioned, it's 20 millimeters of total adjustment, and you can use it for fine-tuning if you wish, or you can just pull it out all the way and use it as a fold-out extension over a dive suit. So you can really use it for sizing or for diving. 20 millimeters of total adjustment, 10 stops along the way. Rolling back to the case, this is what I mean when I say super case. Squared off lug profiles, sheer case flank. There are a lot of Rolex watches like the Yachtmaster, the Daytona, the Datejusts, and the Day-Dates that still have a fairly fluid and curved case that's a bit more complex, but also less imposing and sporty than this so-called super case. We have sheer guards here, and we have a triplock crown in white gold. We know it's triplock because it has 3 dots. We know it's white gold because the center dot is the largest. We have a bezel with a nice crisp detent and a wonderful feeling of refinement. One of the best for feel, sound, and precision in the industry. 120 clicks. There's a nice sharp knurling for easy gripping, even with wet hands. Line up the Luminescent Pearl against the minute hand. You have a 0 to 60 minute count-up timer. Now, the Pearl is covered in sapphire to make it scratch resistant, so you can't displace it by abrasion. So Rolex really does think of everything. The insert is blue Cerachrom, scratch-resistant ceramic. Again, that was the first on this model in '08. And the deposits for the numerals and the indices, those are all platinum deposits. So we actually have platinum deposited inside the ceramic bezel, so it won't tarnish, oxidize, or fade over time. That's the same reason Rolex uses 18-karat white gold for the hour indices as well as the hands. Over time, it won't change its color or shading. We have a blue gloss bezel we have a blue gloss dial. They match quite nicely. And after 2013, Rolex removed, for example, the blue gloss dial on the two-tone subs so that it would be exclusive to full gold. Now, the blues match perfectly because they're both gloss, not metallic, so there's a real symmetry that creates the appearance of a larger watch because the blue seems to continue unabated from the dial all the way out to the edge of the bezel. We will do a loom shot here. And you can see we have Rolex's proprietary Chromolite blue. They make everything down to the loom, even the lubricants used in their movements. Speaking of which, screw-down crown, 300-meter water resistance underneath the Oyster case back, Rolex manufactured caliber 3135, bidirectional automatic winding, 4 hertz beat rate, 31 joules, 48-hour power reserve, stop seconds function, quick set date function, COSC certified Swiss chronometer, but Rolex goes beyond, ensuring that the certified movement, fully cased up and tested in 6 positions, runs no worse than -2 + 2 seconds per day. And that's the basis for the term superlative chronometer in the modern era. It's better than a chronometer. Full balance bridge with a free spring index. These things make the watch more shock tolerant in daily use. And it's worth noting, the watch has a handmade Breguet overcoil hairspring that allows it to breathe concentrically regardless of what position the watch is in. So gravity will not cause your watch to gain or lose time depending on what angle your watch sits on your wrist or on your dresser at night. Finally, that hairspring is made of blue oxidized niobium zirconium, which is highly anti-magnetic. So this watch is shock resistant, water resistant, and anti-magnetic, a true sports watch. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.